My father was a photographer, and while he took countless staged portraits of me and my brother, he also documented our travels and became an award-winning amateur art photographer. So in March of 2016, I decided it was time to get a handle on all of the photographs in my basement, which had moved from the basement of my childhood home to the basement of my father's apartment building, to the basement of my mother's apartment building, to the basement of the townhouse I share with my husband and 2 kids. And there were just so many of them. My idea was to separate the art photos from the family photos and give the art photos to friends to hang on their wall, because it would be weird if I gave them my family photos. So I started sorting. There were just so many boxes. Some were, matted in custom frames, and some were just mounted on like foam core. And there were some 5x7s and 8x7s that were just printed out and stacked in boxes without tops. And so I was sorting and figuring things out. I thought, pictures of sand dunes and farmers markets and glass skyscrapers, people would want those on their walls. But of course, life happened. As the mother of 2 small children, I rarely got to finish the projects I started in my house. And this project was interrupted by a trip to Colonial Williamsburg. It was my kids' spring break. And my father, before I was born, was a US history teacher. And so most of my family vacations were to historical sites all over America. And my husband and I decided we would stick with that. So off to Colonial Williamsburg we went. We did all the things. We ate all the food. We took all the pictures. We saw all the sights. And my 4-year-old was incredibly grumpy. And I had a migraine. So we're going from building to building and looking at horses and gallows and stockades. And it was in the silversmith shop that my 4-year-old son finally became engaged, as he stared at a man hitting metal with a ball peen hammer. My migraine was not happy, but my 4-year-old was. So I stood with him holding hands while he watched a man masquerading as a colonial blacksmith make something behind the desk. And I looked out the window where my husband and my daughter had retreated from the horrible noise and were playing on the street in quiet. Now, to see them, I had to look through a window, and in the window, there was a shelf with a silver object, a bowl with 2 handles on either side, but I could see them just past the silver bowl in the dusty, quiet Colonial Williamsburg street. But as a mom, I stood there holding my son's hand as he watched the man with the ball peen hammer. Now, later that night, my son threw up all over the carpet in the house where we were staying, because life happens, and life isn't always the pretty pictures that you take on vacation, except sometimes it is. We got home. I continued to sort art, family, but I didn't have more time off work. So this project took, all my free time on all my weekends, stretching for months. And in June of that year, 3 months later, I was carrying up a bunch of these wouldn't look weird on other people's walls photos, when I saw sticking up a photo of a silver bowl with handles in a window, and past it was a dusty Colonial Williamsburg street. My father had stood not in the same city or town, not in the same historical theme park, but in the exact same spot that I stood with my son, his grandson, who he never got to meet. And my father took a picture of it, a perfect picture. And now I have that picture, and I've never given away another one of his pictures since, and I probably never will again. Thank you.